You know how it is. We all have routines, things we do every single day without even thinking about them. But what if those little automatic actions, like walking in your front door or sitting down for a meal, could actually mean something so much more? Today, we're going to dig into a really fascinating teaching about how to bring some powerful intention and real spiritual meaning into our everyday lives.
I mean, really think about that. Could these moments that we barely even notice actually be opportunities to find peace and even shield ourselves from negativity? Well, according to the teachings we're looking at today, the answer is a huge, resounding yes. Okay, let's get into it.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the hidden potential in our day-to-day actions. Then we'll get into the story of an uninvited guest and find out about the simple two-word shield that keeps them away. After that, we'll get super practical with how to actually do this, and finally, we'll see how it all ties together to turn simple routines into acts of worship.
All right, let's jump right into our first section, everyday actions, deeper meaning.
The whole idea here is that pretty much every moment is a chance for remembrance. The teachings, the Hadith we're exploring, they point out that the very things we do on autopilot, coming home after a long day, grabbing a bite to eat, are actually the perfect moments to connect with God and invite blessings into our lives.
So, what happens when we forget to make that connection? Well, that brings us to our next section, and this is where we meet an uninvited guest.
This line, it comes from a narration known as Hadith 10, and wow, it paints a really vivid picture. The story goes that when someone walks into their home without mentioning God, Satan literally turns to his followers and says, "Okay guys, we've got a place to stay for the night." And then, if that same person eats without a word of remembrance, he says, "And look, dinner's ready too." It's such a powerful way to show how just a little bit of carelessness can open our personal space to negative vibes.
And what's so striking here is the contrast. I mean, it's just night and day. It's a clear choice with two totally different outcomes. On one side, you've got forgetfulness, which kind of leaves the door open to vulnerability. But on the other side, just one simple, conscious act of remembrance slams that door shut and instead creates a space of spiritual peace and protection.
So we've seen the problem, right? Well, the good news is there's a solution, and you won't believe how simple and easy it is, which brings us right to our third section, a shield of two words. And that shield, it's the phrase Bismillah. It literally means in the name of Allah or in the name of God. It's basically you declaring that you're starting something with intention, asking for divine blessing, permission, and protection. So when you say Bismillah right before you walk through your door or just before you take that first bite of food, you are actively putting up that spiritual shield. You're taking a normal physical act and turning it into a spiritual one. It's an act of remembrance that tells that uninvited guest we were talking about, "Nope, no room for you here."
And listen, this isn't just some nice custom or old tradition. It's a direct teaching. This instruction comes from Hadith 9, narrated by Aisha, who was a wife of the Prophet Muhammad, and it is crystal clear. It's a simple, direct instruction. When you eat, start by mentioning God's name.
Okay, so we've got the what and the why. Now let's get into the how. Section 4 is all about putting remembrance into practice.
The sources we're looking at really zoom in on these two moments as being super important. First, as you walk into your home, you're not just entering a building, you're actually establishing it as your sanctuary. And second, right before you eat, you're taking a second to acknowledge the blessing of the food that's in front of you. Now, I know what you're thinking.
Because I'm thinking it too. We're human, right? We get busy, we're distracted, we just forget sometimes. Does that mean the moment's lost? Is the door just left wide open? Well, the answer here is actually incredibly merciful.
And this is just beautiful. It really shows the compassion that's built right into the practice. If you're halfway through your meal and you suddenly realize, "Oh man, I forgot," there's no need to panic. The fix is so simple. You just say, "Bismillah awwalahu wa akhirahu," which means in the name of Allah at the beginning and at the end of it. It's just this profound reminder that it's the intention that really matters, even if our memory messes up sometimes.
Okay, so let's pull all these threads together. In our final section, we're going to look at the real payoff of all of this. How we go from just doing things to truly worshiping. We're moving from routine to worship.
So why does all this matter so much? Well, it's about way more than just saying a phrase. It starts with mindfulness. It pulls us out of that zombie-like autopilot mode and into the present moment. And that mindfulness, it naturally leads to gratitude. That simple pause becomes a direct thank you for your home, for your food. And that gratitude starts to weave worship into your daily life. It proves you don't need a special place or time to connect with God. And the result of all that? Real spiritual protection, a genuine sense of peace and safety in your own space.
When you get into this simple habit, the ordinary just becomes extraordinary. Your dinner isn't just fuel anymore, it's a blessing that you're consciously grateful for. Your front door isn't just an entrance, it's the gateway to a protected, peaceful home for you and your family. It's a tiny change that has a massive impact.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. If a simple Bismillah can completely transform the act of eating or walking into your house, what other little routine things in your life, like starting your car, opening your laptop, starting a conversation, could be elevated with just a quick moment of intention? Something to think about, right? Thanks so much for joining me to break this all down.